Hello guys, my name is Amalu, and I am here with another Faerie High video. And not just any video, this is the grand conclusion of the series. In this video, I'll be covering the final 3 characters of a 16 main character-ish cast that I made because I had way too many ideas and not nearly enough self-control. And by the way, I have even more characters than just the main 16 that I've cooked up ideas for. But anyway, if you're new around here, hello! I'm Amalu, an art hobbyist who loves stories and OCs. This is the conclusion of my Faerie High series, where I basically ask the question, what if Monster High was about different species of fairies instead? If you want to learn more about the characters in the world, and the story of Faerie High, feel free to check out the other videos in this series. I'll make sure to link the playlist in the description. Okay, now that we have all that out of the way, let's get into talking about the actual characters. And I feel like I'm gonna have to do some explaining this time because the 3 types of fairies we're talking about today are not as well known as the others. Chevy Fawn. Okay, so I know I just said that all these types of fairies are not very well known. I might have stretched the truth a little bit. I would wager to guess that most people know about satyrs, or fauns depending on what mythology you're talking about. This is another type of species that probably technically doesn't count as a fairy, but I'm counting it as a fairy because they're so closely associated with nature and the wilderness. And also they're tied to nymphs, which I already established are a type of fairy in this world, so it only seems fair that they get to be fairies too. Okay, so most of you probably already know the deal with satyrs and fauns. They're half men, half goats. Satyrs come from Greek mythology, while fauns come from Roman mythology. If you're not a mythology buff, which is me, I already exposed myself for not really liking Percy Jackson before, you might think that satyrs and fauns are basically just the same thing in 2 different fonts. But that actually isn't the case. At least in the little bit of research I did. Greek satyrs are known for liking wine, women, and revelry, where some very, let's just say not family-friendly stuff goes down. From what I can tell from my very basic research, fauns are a little less wild and more associated with being protectors of the forest, and also they're kind of where the stereotype of satyrs playing pan flutes comes from. So in my story I kind of combined the 2 concepts, but of course I had to adapt them into something much more family friendly, because obviously I want Faerie High to be something kids, tweens, teens, and anyone of any age could hypothetically enjoy. So that leads us to Chevy. I decided that Chevy was going to be a total social butterfly and a bit of a party animal. Basically, he's like the Briar Beauty of Faerie High. Chevy is a massive extrovert, and he thrives when he's surrounded by tons of high-energy fairies and activities. Because of this, he loves getting involved and planning events where he can mingle, dance, and party with new friends. He's fun-loving and spontaneous, but is also excellent at organizing and planning huge events, which is why he was elected as the Student Council Vice President and the head of the dance committee. He's very popular and extremely well-known, and he knows all of the gossip on literally everyone. He could come off as too much or very overbearing to more introverted or quiet fairies, and sometimes he struggles to slow down his pace. He also has a bit of a reputation as a serial flirt, but he doesn't really seem to take dating and relationships all that seriously. He mostly just does it for fun. For his design, I really wanted to go with a kind of modernized take on ancient Greek and Roman fashion, but with a little bit of PG, preppy frat boy energy thrown in. It ended up being a really weird mix that was harder than I thought to pull off, and he is definitely the hardest character to design for. I gave him this kind of long shirt/tunic thing that I found on Pinterest. I thought that it looked kind of like an ancient silhouette, but was still a little bit modern, like it had that modern edge. And because his outfit ended up being very monochromatic in the end, I also added this red trim on the ends of his outfit with this little kind of golden geometric Roman pattern on it. I'm not sure what else to call it. I also gave him some stacked belts because I love me a good set of stacked belts. And then I gave him flared pants with a slit on the side so that a little bit of his goat legs are peeking through. The nice part about him having hooves is that I don't have to design any shoes for him. I also gave him a sweater that's tied around one shoulder. This is supposed to look both like those sweaters that like really preppy guys tie around their necks, and a sash that you like always see when someone is dressing up as an ancient Roman. The sweater is also supposed to be made out of cashmere, because if you didn't know, cashmere is actually made of goat fur. He wears lots of gold jewelry, because I am a big supporter of male OCs wearing more jewelry. And I think I might have accidentally made him look a bit too much like a totally unrelated OC of mine that also wears tons of ancient-inspired gold jewelry, so whoops. His single gold earring is supposed to look a bit like those tags that you sometimes see goats having on their ears. Also, I don't know how visible it is, but he has little horns peeking out of his curly hair. I gave him glasses mostly because I realized that there wasn't a single character in the Faerie High lineup that wears glasses. I didn't think that was really fair or accurate for a high school setting, and Chevy just happened to be the very last character I came up with when I was like making the concepts of these characters, so he got the glasses. I usually hate drawing glasses because I feel like I can never proportion them right on the face. So having to draw them every single time I draw Chevy is great practice for me. It's also really fun to come up with different styles for different types of outfits. And Chevy totally rocks them. I also realized much later that this was a total missed opportunity to give him a little goat beard. Or should I say, goatee. I'm sorry, that was really bad. Even for me. Also, as a final note, we are going to ignore the chair that he's sitting on, okay? I'm still learning how to draw furniture. And here he is. I feel like his design leans a lot more Roman than Greek. Maybe that's just me, but honestly I'm okay with that. I think if I were going to change one thing though, it would be adding a little bit more natural elements in his outfit, like giving the jewelry little bits of leaves or adding more natural patterns and textures. I feel like that would point to him being more of like a nature spirit more, and I feel like that was kind of lost in this design, which is very geometric. Also, when I first uploaded him to my Unveil, which you should follow me there by the way, because I post a lot of Faerie High artwork there, someone commented that he looked a little bit like Telemachus, and I kind of have to agree. I kind of think I was subconsciously channeling him while I was drawing. Okay, on to our second character, who is a type of fairy you might be a little familiar with, but you might not know that you are. Cassie Brown. Cassie Brown is a brownie. Now, I know there might be a couple of you that are very confused right now, because a brownie is a type of dessert, right? Well, did you know that brownies are also a type of fairy? Brownies are from Scottish folklore. They're these little creatures that take shelter either in your house or your barn, and they sleep during the day. At nighttime, though, they come out to clean, finish your chores, and cook. So they're pretty helpful little guys. However, if you manage to offend one of these guys, usually by taking their work for granted or not leaving little offerings out for them, they stop being helpful and they actually go out of their way to sabotage you. All they really want is a little bit of respect. If you've ever read Harry Potter, then brownies are kind of similar to the house elves, just without all of that uncomfortable being enslaved part. I was introduced to the concept through the Fablehaven book series, and I've always thought that they were such a cool creature, and one that's like really overlooked. So when I was making Faerie High, I knew one of the characters had to be a brownie. Also, as a side note, The dessert and the fairy aren't actually linked in any way, but I made them linked in this world because it's fun. Brownies, the fairies, were the ones who invented brownies, the dessert, in this world. Anyway, Cassie is a fairy who is very humble and hardworking, and she's always willing to help a friend in need. She is extremely organized and cannot stand a mess. She's so sweet and generous and is just like a total cinnamon roll, which is fitting because she loves to bake. Her sweet confections are legendary at Faerie High, and bake sales go crazy when people know that she's the one baking. Her organizational skills and attention to detail also make her a crazy good stage manager for the Theater Club's plays. I know I have a lot of puns. She is one of the few fairies that can actually rein in Patrick's chaotic energy. And if you don't know who Patrick is, you should check out this video that I'm probably linking on the screen right now. Since Cassie is always so eager to help, she's prone to setting her own needs aside, neglecting her self-care, and getting really burnt out. She's slowly learning that it's okay to step back and take some time for herself too. The outfit I'm designing for her now is a second outfit for her because I already designed her signature outfit and I still love it so much. Like, do you see this dress? It's an apron. And there's window details on the pockets because she's a house fairy. This design is so cute to me. Anyway, in her second outfit, I was inspired by these overalls I found on Pinterest. Cassie's overall style is very cute, practical, and has a bit of vintage flair. Honestly, this outfit that I gave her is probably the most modern looking thing I have ever drawn her in. She has a bandana to tie her hair back, and I also gave her a different little tie around her waist to look a little bit like an apron ribbon. I gave her this cute little puffed sleeve button-up with a checkered pattern that's supposed to look like the vintage classic tablecloth that you always see as a picnic blanket. She also has these little buttons on her knee, partially because I saw it on Pinterest, but also because I thought it kind of looked like she sewed them on there just in case she needed a button for something, which I thought was really cute. I also gave her these practical Mary Jane style shoes that would be easy to walk around and stand in for long periods of time. The earrings I gave her were supposed to look like heart-shaped window panes because, home is where the heart is, but they kind of ended up looking like peace signs. So initially when I was coming up with Cassie, I really struggled with her color palette because I don't usually draw characters that have such a, neutral base color. Because obviously her main color has to be brown, right? But I had this sudden realization when I was going through different color palettes that I could make her color scheme Neapolitan ice cream. And I just totally ran with that idea. So, while Elwyn, who, if you don't know who she is, you should go watch her video, has the longest ears out of the cast, Cassie has the biggest ears. Or she's supposed to. I'm not always good at drawing them the size that they're supposed to be. Her ears are supposed to be a bit bigger and sloped down, as opposed to the smaller, sharper points that I give most other Faerie High characters. Cassie is also one of the shortest members of the cast, but I don't think I conveyed that really well in this drawing. I feel like since I drew this, I've gotten a lot better at showing my characters' heights and body types because I have a better sense of how I want them all to look together, and also I've just gotten a lot more practice at drawing them. Anyway, here she is. I feel like this outfit is very different from the ones I have given her before, but it still ended up looking really cute, and I do think it still is in character for her. I think she just looks a little off to me because I drew her again very recently as of the time I'm working on this script, and she looked a lot more like herself. But anyway, moving on to our last character, the final member of the Faerie High lineup. Sylphia Wind. Okay, so I don't know how many people are going to even know what a sylph is, but that is what Sylphia is. And yes, Sylphia is a pun on the word sylph with the name Sylvia. Look, if I don't get at least one punny name per video, then what's even the point of this series? So, remember the video where I talked about Jerry? If you don't remember that, you should go watch it right now, wink wink. Anyway, in that video I mentioned this alchemist with a name I can't pronounce, so I'm not going to attempt it again. Well, in the same work he used to describe gnomes as earth spirits, he also described these air spirits, aka sylphs. And to be honest, in my very basic research, there wasn't a lot of description about what a sylph was, except that they were usually depicted as these graceful women or girls, and that they were associated with the air. In fact, if you have read the first book in the Stormlight Archive, which is the only one I've read because those books are beefy as heck, there's this character named Syl, who is kind of like a wind spirit. I feel like it's a little bit more complicated, but I'm not going to get into it. But yeah, all of that solidified in my mind that sylphs are air spirits and they're graceful and they're also a little bit associated with ballet. And that was all the information I needed to go and make a sylph character in this world. In the Faerie High universe, sylphs are another type of winged fairy, though their wings are a lot longer and slender, as opposed to pixies who have these big butterfly-like wings. Sylphs have control over the wind, clouds, and sky in general. Sylphia is specifically the daughter of the North Wind, who has been personified in many different cultures and mythologies. Sylphia is very friendly and has a more go-with-the-flow type personality. She has no problem drifting between different friend groups and cliques and can get along with practically anyone. She's cheerful and seemingly carefree, and a little bit airheaded. She's prone to forgetting things and seemingly drifts through life unaware of anything heavy or serious, which means a lot of fairies don't really take her seriously. However, Sylphia is just an optimist that chooses to focus on the good, even to her own detriment at times. Sylphia loves to dance, and she is so graceful that even when she's not flying, she seems to be floating as she moves. She loves all types of dance, though ballet is definitely her favorite. She's also a flyer for the cheer squad. This outfit I'm giving her is also a second design. I still really like her main signature outfit, even though it's probably not my best design that I've ever come up with, if I'm being honest. I was pretty heavily inspired by this outfit that I saw on Pinterest, because when it popped up on my feed, I saw it and was instantly like, yeah, that's Sylphia. So I had to draw her in it. Typically, Sylphia's style tends to be breezier and very easy to move and dance in, with a bit of ballet corps influence just for fun. That doesn't exactly fit with the more form-fitting dress that I gave her for this design. I counteracted this by making her sweater over top extra baggy. Also, since this outfit is technically for picture day, I think it's okay if it's a little bit dressier than her normal style. Plus, if she can bounce around from friend group to friend group, she can also bounce around from fashion style to fashion style. The little choker I gave her is definitely supposed to point at her more ballet corps influence, though. I imagine that her dress, socks, and sweater are all made of this really soft, puffy material that feels like a cloud on your skin. I also decided to add a bit of a gradient to her dress, mostly to keep her outfit from looking too plain, but also because I thought it would be cool if her outfit looked like a snapshot of the sky. Her color palette is very pastel overall, and I used some very, very pretty pictures of the sky as a reference. Honestly, she has one of my favorite color palettes out of any Faerie High character. I decided to put her hair up into these 2 long pigtails for the outfit, just because I felt like they would be a fun way of showing movement, even though I ended up drawing the pigtails very static in this pose. I also gave her more detailed and fun makeup by adding these little clouds drawn across her face, almost like freckles. I thought it helped her look a little bit more fun and ethereal, which is definitely her vibe. It's hard to tell because her coloring is so light, but she is in fact wearing shimmery tights beneath her thigh-high socks, which, by the way, they all have scalloped edges because it kind of looks like cloud puffs. That's another nod to her ballet core inspiration. Her shoes also have these big cloud poof straps because why not? It's fun and it is definitely on theme. And here she is. I really liked the way she turned out, even though I wasn't super confident in her pose. Sylvia's poses always push me because I usually want to draw her floating and dancing and moving, which is why I always use dancers in motion as reference pictures for her. Honestly, Sylvia is a character that just doesn't feel right when she's standing still. And anyway, here are all three of the characters together. They're honestly kind of an odd group together, but you know what? It still works. And wow, that is all 16 Faerie High characters. Genuinely, I cannot believe that I somehow managed to finish making all of this. Even though the art I drew so long ago that it feels kind of old at this point, I'm still proud of myself for actually finishing this monster, or should I say fairy, of a project. Thank you so much to all of you who watched these videos and left such wonderful and supportive comments. Even though I'm trying to get better at responding, I really do appreciate your kind words and I do read them all. It makes me feel happy knowing that there are people out there who love this kind of silly concept just as much as I do. Even though it's just a fun AU of a story of mine, it's really a passion project for me, and I love adding to the world and coming up with different concepts and outfits for the characters. And speaking of which, if you want to see more Faerie High and learn more about the world, you can check out my Unveil account. My username is the same there as on YouTube, and I'll link it in the description. Faerie High definitely dominates what I make and post there, but I also have other characters for different stories and different worlds as well. In fact, I probably have too many characters. Recently, I drew a bunch of the Faerie High characters in outfits for a music festival, and I gave them all cute little accessories as well. There's tons of little things like that in my Faerie High world there. Like, I have a staff list of all the teachers who work at Faerie High, and a map of the school that I drew forever ago that has been in every single thumbnail, and is kind of in my brain the representation of Faerie High. So, if/when I ever decide to actually write some short stories set in this world, they will probably get posted there. And anyway, thank you again for listening to me yap. And once again, for all of you who have been here for the full ride, thank you. I really mean it. I hope you enjoyed this series. And yeah, that's all from me. So go out there and keep on creating. Amalu out.